Good morning and welcome to Kevin Toll Reads. Today we have a book review of The Hidden Girl and Other Stories by Ken Liu. This was published in 2020 and this collection is comprised of 17 short stories and one excerpt from his Dandelion Dynasty collection up here, which I believe was book 3 of that collection or series. So kind of in summary, this collection really is kind of an emotional roller coaster, and it touches on a lot of different moral and thought-provoking themes. So it's heavily science fiction. It talks a lot about culture. You know, if I had to summarize the book, you go from various cultures to the past, to the future, to the personality transmittance, to AI, to singularities, to post-apocalyptic worlds, to civilizations that have moved on in time so much that they've gone backwards to like the Stone Age in terms of technology and evolution. So and some of the stories are really kind of, they're not depressing, is not the word, but they're kind of cruel and they're kind of haunting, and it's good. If you saw my short earlier this week, or with one of my videos I was talking about that I was reading this book, and like so far I was enjoying it so heavily. Like, is this going to be the first 5.0 book on the channel type thing? And so stay a little bit and you'll find out. So some of the things I liked about this collection, first and foremost, I think Ken Liu is a fantastic author and fantastic writer. He really knows how to tell a short story. Like, I really enjoyed his other collection, The Paper Menagerie. I really enjoyed this collection as well. And I think he does a good job. I mean, I don't know how he goes about picking, these stories to package them, but he does a fantastic, it's really, really well. There was only one story that I disliked, and I'll get into that in a minute. But in terms of likes, the first like 3 stories I just vibed with, and probably why I was like, this could be the 5.0 book, this is so good. And they were awesome. Ghost Days, Maxwell's Dream, The Reborn, those short stories were fantastic, and I really liked how you drop in, and then you're reading, and all of a sudden you understand like this character is not a human character, and so I thought those were really good. He had 3 specific stories that I call the God stories, because it was like the gods will not be chained and the gods will not die in vain, and I liked those 3 stories as well because the stories kind of had an arc to them, and like you got the first part of it, and then you'd have some other short stories, and then you go back to that one and you'd get a continuation of that kind of short story a little bit. I really like that. I like the story in itself. You had a young girl whose dad, basically knowing he's going to die, transfers his personality into artificial intelligence and then starts communicating to her through chat and emojis and such, so that she realizes it's him. And he does this not only knowing that he's going to die, but that he sees the world moving on to a heavily artificial intelligence type world, and there's not always good intentions from some of the people that have cracked that kind of code and have transferred themselves into artificial intelligence. So he's fighting and combating them from dropping nuclear bombs, and so it was a really cool story arc kind of thing. And they end up calling, and I found out at the end they called them the gods because basically they had a control over everything, because everything was so heavily influenced by computers and networks and all that. So it was a really cool story arc. I really enjoyed that one. Then you had the Gray Rabbit, Crimson Mare, Cold Leopard story, and I thought that was a really cool kind of Chinese Eastern story where people are able to shapeshift into different characters, and they're being hunted by an oppression and the king, and that was a really cool story. The Ultimate story, The Hidden Girl, I thought was really, really good as well. You know, some of these stories, and I always say this when it comes to short stories collections, whether it's Stephen King, whether it, you know, was the previous one with like the Paper Menagerie or other short story writers, some of these stories I just wish they would continue. I really do. I really, really do. And there's really cool, neat character setups and in premises that you could definitely elaborate into something bigger. And I think that would be really neat too, even if it's just a novella. But I really enjoyed this. The only dislikes, and I mentioned earlier I had a dislike, is you had 17 short stories and you had the excerpt from book 3 of the Dandelion Dynasty in there. And I thought that was unnecessary. And I think the timing of the publishing of the book and what he was doing correlates to the launch of that 3rd book. And so he stuck an excerpt in there as a teaser to get, you know, obviously get people interested or give his fan base a little something before the book probably was dropped and published. But it was unnecessary. You know, reading it now like I am, I thought it kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. With that being said, then, so what's my rating? I didn't give the ultimate 5.0. I didn't. It is a fantastic collection. If you take that one story away, it's right in the conversation of 5.0. I rate this book a 4.8, and it's a strong 4.8. I thought back a little bit. The rating, I took up some time rating this. I mean, I put a lot of thought into this because, and I honestly took as you can probably tell, normally I'm pumping books out much faster than this, but I took my time with this one because I was enjoying it much and I didn't want to rush it. And I was giving it a lot of thought, especially with the rating, because, you know, I threw it out there and it kind of laid the gauntlet that this could be it. And then I felt bad because I'm like, yeah, why would you do that? Throw that out in the universe type thing. But this is a fantastic book. I could not recommend this book more to people. If you get a chance to see this, whether it's in a thrift store or somewhere, or you want to take the dive and just pick it up, it's fantastic. This one and the Paper Menagerie, these 2 short story collections by Ken Liu, will introduce you to his writing style, and it's fantastic. I can't wait to get to his Dandelion Dynasty series, fantasy series. I'm really enjoying this book. Again, 4.8's strong. It's really strong. One of my highest rated books this year. Ken Liu, The Hidden Girl and Other Stories. I hope you're having a great week. And talk to you later.